Blizzard is back at it again with changing more Hearthstone card artworks, but the problem is another problem that we've had with Blizzard for a very long time when it comes to changing card artworks in Hearthstone, and that is that they do not actually tell you why. They beat around the bush and they try to come up with every excuse that they can, and they are not transparent with their consumers. So in a new article posted by PC Gamer, it is titled "Blizzard says Hearthstone card art changes have nothing to do with China." And I already knew, after reading through this before reading through this article, I should say, that this was kind of a lie, because Blizzard has changed a lot of Hearthstone card artworks because of China, because they want to meet with the Chinese regulations when it comes to video games and their standards, because they have very different standards than we do here in the United States. It's not that abnormal for companies to want to do that, especially companies like Blizzard, where they have this game that they want to be an esport, and they want it to be as widely published as it can be. They want it to be in every single area that it can be, so every type of consumer that they can possibly reel in with it can play it, so maybe they can make more money. And being in these different areas, in these different regions, and having these different types of consumers is beneficial to larger companies. So it's not completely abnormal for a company to want to do this, and Blizzard has censored card artworks for Chinese regulations in the past, so I honestly at first did not believe that they would really say that it wasn't because of China, or it wasn't because of an age rating reason, but they think that we are foolish enough to actually believe that. So the article starts off with, "The old card art was a little too heavy on the sex and violence. Blizzard made changes to the artwork on 8 Hearthstone cards yesterday and changed names of 2 of them, and the reaction was not entirely positive." Multiple posters on this Reddit thread, for instance, speculate that the sex and violence was dialed back in order to be in line with Chinese regulations. That would not be so unprecedented. China's gaming market is heavily censored, and Blizzard has previously made changes to World of Warcraft visuals in order to comply with regulations. Even this article kind of backs up what I was saying, because it's not completely new. The idea of them censoring things for China is not a brand new idea. They've done it plenty of times and for many of their franchises. In this case, however, China has nothing to do with it. Apparently. They didn't add apparently. Lead mission designer Dave Kozak told us after reviewing the full Hearthstone set, they told PC Gamer, Blizzard decided that the art on some of these cards simply didn't meet its standards, and that Blizzard wouldn't print those same cards today. I understand that every company has their own standards, Blizzard especially, but what do you mean they simply did not meet their standards? This is a digital game that is a high fantasy game. None of these things are supposed to be depicting real creatures, real people, real interactions. They're not supposed to be depicting real things. This is fantasy. It's standards. What are your standards? Not having anything that looks sexy in games? Sexy still does sell. There are people that are maybe more vocal on sexualized characters or sexualized settings, and they do not like that. But that is just because, in this day and age, people are more vocal about what they like and about what they dislike. Sexy sells. Blizzard is not going to tell anyone differently, because that is a blatant freaking lie. Sexy sells. It says, "We went back and really just brought everything up to our standards." What are these standards? It's just like Sony saying they're following the standards of today's age. What are these standards? I know that this is their standards, so Blizzard standards. I want to see a list of what Blizzard's standards really are. Can anyone link me to this? Can anyone point me in the direction? Because I have damn not been able to find any of these standards talked about online. Kozak said, "It wasn't because we were looking at ratings." Sure it wasn't. Or international regulations. Sure it wasn't. Or anything like that. We really just wanted our artists to feel good about everything in the set. Isn't it the same artists that made and created these artworks? What do you mean you wanted our artists to feel good about everything in the set? If someone created these artworks and someone created these visuals, obviously they feel good about them. Obviously they are confident in them. They are not saying, well, I didn't really like this. Because if an artist does not like what they created, usually they have enough time to recreate it and to change it. And once you've sent it in, you obviously feel very confident in it. And we will just look at the card artworks. So the first one is Succubus changed to Fellstalker. This is a completely different card. I understand that, everything game mechanically is the same. It bothers me so much when we see changes like this, because a succubus is a thing in fantasy. It's been a thing in World of Warcraft, in Hearthstone, in all of these games, and now they're just changing it. Yes, Fellstalker is already something that is in their lore and in their universes, but still, succubus is a term and a creature that's been used for so long. So obviously you can tell that one artwork on the left is very sexy, and on the right it is a completely different artwork, a completely different card in a sense. And on the left you can tell Bite is very different from the one on the right. It is a different artwork in general, but you can tell the one on the left was changed because it depicted a little bit of blood. Obviously it was like a rat chomping down on something and there's blood. And on the right it is just a completely different artwork, censored, of course, because Chinese regulations are against blood. Any depiction of blood, they do not allow, even different colored blood. I've talked about this in the past, where they have changed their regulations, but they don't even allow like a blue or a neon yellow type of blood anymore. They do not allow any depictions of blood, because what would usually happen is they would just change the color of the blood and everything would be fine. The next one is Deadly Shot. It gets rid of the body that the arrow is actually going through. We have Wind Fury Harpy, which from the left to the right comparison for me actually doesn't look that shockingly different. On the left, obviously, there's more cuppage in her chest area. There's more of that dimension. And on the right, you do see that her thighs are covered up and her bust area is obviously toned down a bit. But it really does not, this one does not bother me. If it was just this, I would not be as bothered by these changes, because that one is acceptable. It's not a huge difference. Eviscerate, of course, you are getting rid of the blood dripping and the blood spewing out of the body that is being stabbed. This one as well is not too out there. It is not so much of a change that I would be bothered. Secret Keeper. On the left, you can tell the pose is very different. Maybe they added a little bit more weight to her, which is perfectly fine. I do think that the left and the right artworks both look very good in their own terms. I don't mind the right side one, because she still does have skin showing, she still has cleavage showing. I do like both versions of it. And then we have the Mistress of Pain changed to the Queen of Pain, which, Mistress, it's such an inappropriate word now. Everyone's made it so inappropriate, and yeah, Blizzard thinks it's inappropriate. Mistress to Queen. The name change isn't that bothersome to me, but the artworks actually, I think it's kind of funny, because I personally think the Mistress of Pain one, or the one on the left, is a little bit less revealing than the one on the right. The one on the right to me seems a little bit more out there, so I don't mind this change either. And then we have Headcrack, which is just a different type of art. I overall do not think that these changes are so outrageous that it makes a huge difference. Now, to me, I think a lot of these card artworks, like the Harpy and the Mistress of Pain or the Queen of Pain, the artworks that they change them to still look good. But it's still the fact that this is blatant censorship, and they're lying about why. They're saying that it's not because of Chinese regulations and the Chinese government trying to follow along with those regulations, but you know that it is. They are changing things that would not be passed through Chinese regulations, like the blood. They are removing the blood completely, and they're toning down the chest area, and they're covering up most of that cleavage and that skin showing, which is against those regulations. Blizzard has artworks in Hearthstone that are very, very showing and very risque, and that is not something that is completely out there to them. They do that in their card artworks, but the article just finishes off with, Kozak confirmed that some of the changes were aimed at toning down the portrayals of sex and violence in the game. Like we had established. Headcrack was updated because it was too dark and hard to read. Maybe that's a more acceptable reason to change card artworks. And then emphasize the decision was driven not by external forces, but just by bringing it up to standards we felt really good about today. Again, the standards that they will not talk about. But that is the end of the video, you guys. I just really wanted to update you guys on this Hearthstone censorship and really read through and look through their excuses. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and of course if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either which way, but I do hope that you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, and I will talk to you guys again in the next video really soon.